Traders, welcome back to another Relentless recap. How's it going, guys? How's it going? How's it going? Welcome back. Welcome back. Guys, red day recap here. We are down 320. Not a bad day. Pretty solid stuff. We ended the live stream, I believe, down 197. So we did add a little bit to the deficit. $110, $120 or more. To be exact, but it happens. We took some great trades. The only issue was that I wasn't as dialed in as I should have been. I think I might have been a little too involved in a great conversation that they were having in the Discord. Very informative stuff, and I wasn't quite locked in, and so things happen. The trades play out pretty fast here on DWAC. The stock is pushing up. It gives a beautiful breakout. On the move up. I contemplated on if I should scalp the trade for break of 25, and it goes to 25.34, 34 cent. I had 1,000 shares at the ready. Green was coming in on the tape. The spreads tightened up really nicely. It was like 24.99 by 25. Green is coming in. Ideal for me to hit buy. It hits 02, 03, 07, rips up to like 16, 18, and like 25. The bids catch up pretty quickly. It could have been a good, let's say anywhere from 15 to 25 cent winning trade to start the sequence. I didn't take it. That's one. It goes to show you how fine the line is between being green and being red. If I take that trade, boom, 150. The day is essentially, I would have been down maybe like $30 at that point. So now moving on to the next pullback, right? So I'm watching at it here. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait for a pullback trade. It goes from a high of 17. It drops down to 24.98. I'm long at 25.02. Great entry, but I just don't have the confidence to hold it here. And I think that winning trade, if I had that winning trade on the scalp going up, I more than likely would have felt a little bit more comfortable. It's just how it is sometimes. You're just so the factors of the day. The factors of the day. I'm thinking, man, I just been such a great trade. Now I'm getting in a little lower. Although it's a great entry, I'm a little skeptical. What do? I cut the trade for a 1 cent loss. And it's a great trade because we then have a bottoming wick here. We put in a high of 18. Could have been out for 10 cents of gains, 12 cents, 14 cents, 15 cents. So I said, okay. I started to look at it on the 5-minute charting now. And I'm like, man, it does look like it could pull back more, and this was such an excellent read on my behalf. It comes down here. Initially, it drops to, I believe, 82. I want to say 82 or 83. I'm in quickly. Boom, entry at 85. It bounces back to 97. I'm in with 1,000 shares. Now, this was a bit of a technical mistake on my behalf. I am trading this thing on my monitor up above, the monitor that was actually on the screen earlier, where I have 500 shares in my order entry window. On this monitor here, I had 1,000 shares, and this is where it could be a little tricky or dangerous, because if I had 2,500 selected, I'd have been long 2,500, and I'm not really trying to take that type of size, So, anyhows, I'm in 1,000. I checked to see my fill. I realized that I'm in 1,000, and I realized that I'm also up 17 cents. And I was watching to see if it wanted to go from 97 on the ass for a push back over 25. That's where I was going to look to unwind the entire trade. That would have been about a 15 cent trade, but I'm already up pretty good. Well, not 17 cents, because from 13 cents rather. I was up 13 cents, because from 85 to 95, and then another 3 cents, 97. Yeah, so I was up 13 cents versus the ass. The bids were at 95 at one point, so I was definitely locking in 10 cents of gains if I would have sold. So when I realized I was in with 1,000 shares, I'm like, oh, let me get out half. So I went like this, 500, and then I click to sell. I see that it's coming back down a little bit, so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a sec. Worst mistake I could have done. It doesn't bounce at all from there. That was the highest it was going to go. So the best bet would have been for me to be all out at 95 on the bids, locking in 10 cents, which would have been $100. So that happens. It pulls back. I'm like, I thought it was going to bounce, so I'm like, okay, I'll give it a chance. Then I see 78. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take it here. I sold. And it was a good sell. I'm like, okay, I think it might still bounce. I got back in at 72, smaller size this time. It doesn't. It goes down to a low of 55, which was basically this green line here, which is yesterday's high. So it goes all the way to yesterday's high before curling up. And you know, for me, this is always tricky. You guys saw me lose in the live stream on a pullback like this. Look at high of day here, right? Look at this area here. High of day was at 24.88. That's why I thought this entry 85 was a good entry and that it was going to bounce. So what does the stock do? If we look at the pivot, right? A bit of an ABCD right here, red to green. Pivot, we got a high of 24.45, 24.44, 24.44. It essentially, and once again, yesterday's high was 24.50. It essentially pulls back to like 24.44, 24.50. So it retraces the entirety of this beautiful move to come back into this pivot. So, and the reason why I'm looking at this as the retracement and not the stock going all the way down, let's say here at VWAP, is because where would I have possibly been in this trade if I was watching it earlier, right? If I was watching this earlier before this breakout, I would have been in at the pivot of the ABCD, right? So if we go on to E-Trade, DWAC, right? If we pull it up over here, it isn't the perfect ABCD, but I'd kind of still look at it as such. I'm gonna kind of force the pattern here, right? So let me just bring up the drawing tool. So the ABCD generally is this W, right? Okay, it's not the cleanest here. It's not the cleanest. You can see we kind of have, something like that, and then something like this, and then it curls up. So it's not the perfect W, but I'm still watching this area here for the pivot. This area right in here for the pivot, which is around 44, right? That is around 44. So that's where I would have been long if I'm not in at the low of the pullback, which, for the potential double bottom, triple bottom, right? So those are the entries that I always look at. Either, the double bottom entry here, well, actually not on that side, but on this side, right here, or I'm watching the pivot right here for the entry. So that's this, same, once again, not quite the perfect W for the ABCD, but, it's still, the pattern is still, I think, valid. So instead of holding a little higher towards 24, we pull back to 50. And I just didn't think that it should have done that. And, that's fine. It's okay to be wrong, which is exactly why I sell that trade at 78. Now, the question is, am I willing to buy it back at 24.50 right here? I wasn't. And so I thought that was it. So, you can see if you were watching at it and you bought 20, we had lows right here of 55, 55, and 54. If you bought 54, 55, 56, we did go back to a high of 25.44, which is essentially 90 cents. So, as always, there's opportunities. I just wasn't willing to continue fighting, because it was already a slow day. As mentioned, I botched the trade going up here by, well, not on this side, but over here. I botched this trade, not taking it. Messed up on the dip to 85, not selling for 10 cents. So I just felt like, man, I'm just not accurate enough. I had no confidence to buy it again down here without thinking that it was going to be a losing trade, really. So, yeah, that was DWAC. The line between being red and green is just, it's such a fine line. This could have easily went, I'm in for 25, break over the whole dollar. I've made 18 cents. I'm up 180. Then I would have held the pullback, let's say, over here for the low initially when it first came down at 25 again and out for another 10 cents. At that point, I'd been up like 28 cents on the stock, right? As mentioned, I was in right here but sold too soon. Could have been out for 28 cents already just between these two candles. And even if this happened to have been, I just don't know, man. I just felt like, I don't know, maybe I held this trade too long, because this should never be past break even, this trade. I was green in this trade, 10 to 13 cents. It's no way this should have went past my break even. But anyhow, it happened. Even if I give back, 7 cents out of the 28 cents gain, maybe I'm still interested to take this lower entry again and, potentially come out at, be in at 55 and come out higher up at that 25. But, that's how small it is, the difference between being red and green. It's just the smallest things. I mean, it's so small, the difference between being red and green. It's actually quite crazy. MTTR. This one we traded during the live stream. Was this the one that was a roller coaster? What was the other one? SNAL. SNAL. We'll talk about this one first. This one, we tried to take a low of day entry. Didn't really work out. It was just too weak. Tried buying the pullback. Didn't work. It just kept going lower. We took losses. MTTR. I don't know if I put an A in there. MTTR. This one was a bit of a roller coaster. We were green, then red, then green, then red, then green, then red again. And unlike yesterday, when I got back green, I didn't really consider walking away. I was still looking to attack the stock, which, there's a little bit of a feeling of like I'm not fulfilled when I don't really get a chance to be in my entries and be in my entries with good size. Now, with that being said, I still do a pretty decent job, I think, recognizing when there's a level of, let's say, time decay, right? I know this is a phrase that's used in options regularly. When you're trading options, it's used a lot. So time decay, what does that mean, Relentless? In for you, I'm applying this phrase, and making my own definition here. And it's when a stock is giving opportunities, and over a hot period, let's say, or a good period of momentum, I am not green. At that point, I feel like too much of the day has passed and I'm not capitalizing, and this timer in my head starts to wind down, and it's like, yo, you better get green now or that's it, because just so much of the move has happened. Unless this stock is just going to keep going and go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, try to get green now, or you might be, you might be looking pretty thin, right? That's how they say it over here. You might not be looking good. You might be looking thin. You might not be looking good at all. So, I tried, but just couldn't get it done. So, I'm in on this thing, trying to buy some of the pullback. As we know, breakouts aren't really doing much. I did scalp this one for some trades, actually, but, we can watch it on the live stream time. We're pushing 14 minutes here. So guys, don't forget, hit that thumbs up button, and of course consider subscribing to the channel. 7. Okay, let's go back. MTTR. Did I start off red or green? Looks like I started off green. Green, green, green. Okay, so it's pulling back here. I just pulled up the stock. This was good intuition here. The reason why I was confident to take this trade like this is because I looked at the 5-minute charting, and I'm like, okay, the first 5-minute candle was bullish. We're pulling back here. 59. VWAP is at 55. For those of you who've been watching on for a long time, there's a couple of ways that the pullbacks will be, always, and it's why people love to use starter positions, right? MTTR. There's a couple of ways the pullback will be, always. Let's go to the 1-minute time frame here. We're guaranteed to have a pullback be a certain way almost every single time, right? So let's see, 3, 4, 5. We had the low 52. Let's see, low of 50. Okay, right here is where I saw it. Okay, so let's pull up the drawing tool. Every time there's a pullback, there's one of 3 things, or let's not say 3 things. I guess there's 4 things that can potentially happen, right? Let's say you have an indicator, whether it is this white line here, like VWAP, or maybe this black line, which is the 9 moving average, or you have a trend line, yesterday's high, a daily level. Usually when there's a pullback, and I'm speaking here under strong circumstances, if the volume is making sense, either we pull back to this level exactly, we hold slightly above it, maybe we overshoot the landing zone and go slightly below it and then curl. Those three things. Or the fourth, we fail, right? So if we're to say this white line here represents where the pullback should go, there's no way of knowing exactly, but let's say that white line represents it. Some stocks will go up, right? Some stocks will go up, and either they pull back here and curl, or they pull back, if it's going to allow me here, because the E-Trade's drawing is kind of messed up. Maybe, well, we'll just put a line in. Maybe it pulls back below the level and then curl, right? Or it pulls back exactly to the white line and then curl. Or of course, it just sells off, right? So those are the 4 things that could essentially happen. We can hold high, we can go exactly to the level, we can go slightly below the level, then go up, or we can come down below the level and break down, right? Usually, I would say when pullbacks come and we just pull back a serious amount, it's like, the stock is kind of failing. It'll stop out most traders. So when I come and I look at this and I buy it at 59, there's no way for me to possibly know which one it's going to be out of these 4. I have no idea. I have 0% chance of even knowing. So I'm not even going to concern myself with knowing. I'm just going to buy and put a stop in place. That's what I did on this particular trade. I'm like, hey, if this breaks down below VWAP, I'm basically willing to stop out at this area here. So I'm in at 59, tight stop at 53, 54, right below VWAP at 55. It happens to be one of those ones where you can say it comes to exactly to the level and bounces. It goes to 55 and bounces. So being in at 59 wasn't that bad. But there are other days where 59 is a great entry as well, because it goes as low as 58 and it doesn't pull back anymore. So that's why I just switch over to this thing, and I'm like, this is as good as a place as any, and I just bought it, and let's see what it does. If it goes down, it goes down. If it doesn't, then we'll get a trade. So that's how the day started. And on MTTR, because of course we had trades on other stocks, what I didn't do was add. I didn't add because as mentioned, it was hard to determine the bottom here. We did start to see a bit of a bottoming wick, and I'm like, okay, all right, it's looking good. Maybe that would have been my chance to add, but what I did instead, I decided to scalp it. So I added 61. So I started looking at it now. Ultimately, I am more comfortable scalping stocks than I am buying dips. I think that's something I can admit. So instead of adding at 55, not knowing if it was going to fail or not, once we get this bottoming wick, I feel, okay, confirmation. This is where I can utilize scalping and be able to take more size higher and be safe about it. So I'm like, okay, over the high of day level, I'm in again to scalp, right? So I bought. This was a great trade. The only issue is that on our ask price, there were so many sellers. I thought it was going to fail, but it kept going. So this ad at 69 right here, my average was 67. It was a good ad, but I just not comfortable holding it because of all the sellers that I'm seeing. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it off. But then it does break 70 here. So I get back, 68, 69, so I do get back in. But it would have been better if I could have held the 2,500 shares from 67, 68, and be selling here at 72. The 2-3 cents would have made a difference. It would have been up like 260, 270 instead, and it would have been a great trade. So, boom. I now buy the pullback. VWAP is at this point at like 59. Where do I buy the pullback? 53. I bought 63. I bought the pullback 63 average, 5,000 shares, and it's gonna stop me out. It comes to a low, I believe 59 at 940. I believe the low might have been 59. Yeah, it goes to a low of 59, and I thought, man, because as mentioned, I don't think from making a new high, especially whenever we make a new high of day was at 68. We don't break out by a lot, but we hit 72. I didn't expect it to test VWAP again. I thought, okay, maybe we hold slightly above VWAP. The first trade would have made more sense, I think, in terms of, hey, will we test VWAP? But it also goes to show you why it's really good when you can be watching at the stock from very early, because it seemed like this stock just loved to test VWAP. That was what it loved to do, and I didn't pick up on that in time. So high of 63, it makes a new high of day by 5 cents to 68. What does it do? It goes down to VWAP. So look at all these VWAP trades right here, right? Look at this. One. This is before I even came to the stock, but look at this. One down here. This is when I came. I caught this one. 2. So what is it going to do? The same thing. High of day is now at 68. It makes a high of day by what? 4 cents. Where does it pull back? VWAP. And I bought 63 thinking VWAP and anything close to it, 59, 58, 57, it might have been potentially failing. So I'm in very aggressive, and I stop out too soon. So I was too late on picking up on the trend. And ultimately, that's why I am going to end red on this stock, I think. But, so this is the third time. So you can see anybody who's buying VWAP and selling high, buying VWAP, selling high, buying VWAP, selling high, made a killing, right? Maybe this is the only time you could have bought VWAP, and maybe, if you held for and you can see this is already against the trend, because previously you just had to hold for, let's see, 3 minutes. In this case, 1 minute. In this case here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 6 minutes before the red to green. And if you want to say this is the third pullback, Although, well, on the one, well, on the five, yeah, on the five, this was more so the second pullback. So okay, even if you had gotten a break-even trade or stopped out for a loss over here, you know, you already had 3 great trades. You know, more than likely you wouldn't have been giving back your entire day over here. So, you know, I was too late on picking up on the trend, and so I bought the pullback high, got stopped out with big size. Because mind you, I didn't really get in low here with a lot of size. So I was trying to hit it with size. I like, you know, that's the goal. Hit it with size if you can. And so, yeah, that was MTTR. You know, that was the day, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy the recap. I think it was a great recap, going over in detail a lot of the trades. Let me get some water here. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know down below how you guys did, what you traded. Very fine line between being green and being red. And so, you know, we go back to the video, you guys will see I'm down here like 2 something. So I go back to red, and then I buy VWAP at small size. Well, I'm in with 3,000 shares here. I'm in with 3,000 shares. I'm gonna make back another 200, and this is gonna put me back green on the day. So you know, I caught some trades, but just not consistent enough to really, you know. And this was a great trade because we're red 69. So you guys can see I made money on the stock, but just, you know, right here again, you know, it's like VWAP is the place I needed to wait. So I'm gonna take this trade. I thought, okay, quick 1 minute pullback and then move up. So I put out an order at 72, which is the previous high of day. But as mentioned, this stock is just gonna go right back to VWAP right here. I saw a big buyer come in, so I got very aggressive here. Saw a big buyer come in, so I add 5,000. I thought it was gonna take off over 80, and that's how I lost money. So I'm at 6,500 shares here, very high, and I started to realize, yeah, it's not going. So I sold, but I should have sold all. So I kind of got caught here. So when I sold the last position, we're still at 70, you know, 73, 74 area. And so I'm still thinking, okay, there's a chance it, like, you know, it still does a 1 minute pullback, but I want to just reduce risk. And it starts to go to VWAP here. So I'm going to add it like 66, 67 actually. It's going to go all the way to VWAP, so I'm going to get stopped out. Yep. So you see what happened. It just, you gotta pick up on the trend fast. If not, this is exactly what's going to happen to you. A roller coaster of a day. And that's exactly what happened on that stuff. So if I was able to buy this dip every single time low at VWAP, we probably would have made like 800 on the stock or something. But, you know, that's how it goes. So, yeah, guys. And you not to overtalk it, you know, but take it easy. Stay safe. Stay green. We'll come back on Monday, you know, fresh, ready to go. And, yeah, so have a good weekend. Study up on Sunday evening and, you know, come back ready. I'll catch you guys then. I'll be live on Sunday for a Q&A/study session. So take it easy, guys. Stay safe, stay green. It's been RT, and I am, of course, signing out.